So good evening once again, and that is the book about which we are going to have our discussion for the next 20 minutes, really about how silence could be an important chapter of our lives which we need to discover. And I think probably, when you hit the kind of age buttons that we are hitting, I'm in my 40s. Sameer?
You got some catching up to do.
Yes, you really want to sort of take stock about what has happened and where you need to go forward. So Sameer, first of all, I would love to know, and I'm sure everybody out here who's joined us this evening would love to know, how did you get started? I mean, was there some incidents in your life, or was there some such sort of ongoings that you felt that you needed an alternate approach, that you needed to go into silence just to discover something or identify something which was probably some conflict within you that you wanted answers to?
Firstly, thank you all for being here. I hope you take something away from this which kind of adds value to your life or a perspective. Firstly, I'd like to talk about writing. I've been writing since I was a kid. I'm not really, quote-unquote, a writer. But yeah, I like to pen down my thoughts. That's something I enjoy doing. It's something that kind of brings me peace or clarity. So that's something I've been doing. As far as silence is concerned, I went through a phase in which was like a tricky phase for me, kind of darkish, where things weren't kind of falling into place, whether it's personal or professional. And normally, you reach out when things are not working according to your plan. You kind of look around and say, hey, okay, man, what's God and what is this and what is that? So I was reading a lot of books, right? And now, the Deepak Chopras and the Robin Sharmas and the Ferraris and everything. And which got sold. And basically his book is that how I made a lot of money. So the one thing that got my attention was the word or the usage of the word silence in almost everything. Even if there were spiritual books or say Bhagavad Gita or anything about Upanishads or Vedas, if I would glance through something, silence was something that was like this. So I said, okay, let's try. What is it? What's so big deal about being silent? And I remember, I think it was Deepak Chopra's book, I think it was 7 Spiritual Secrets of Success, in which I think he recommended you should try to maintain silence half an hour in the morning and half an hour in the evening. So I started with 15 minutes. I was like, let's not push it. So I would literally sit with the clock in front of me and just sit, not doing anything. My promise to myself was, I don't care, what my mind is saying, what thoughts are going back and forth. I'm just gonna be quiet and let's see what happens. Initially, it was very difficult, really, because the moment you're sitting there, you're like, okay, I want to call my friend. Oh, okay, where's the remote? I don't do this, do that, which is what I refer to as the monkey mind. And then so then I started doing it twice a day, half 15 in the morning, 15 in the evening, then half an hour. And slowly it became profound. And profound as in, I started noticing that as long as I wasn't reacting to my thoughts and my urges, for example, at one point in time, if you have 100 thoughts running through your mind, but you don't act upon them, the number kind of diminishes from, say, 100 to 50 to 30 to 20 to 10. Eventually, what happens is, at least what I experienced was, you started feeling, sensing, experiencing these gaps between thoughts. And they were very profound, as in it literally rejuvenated me. I was like, because after a while, you do get tired of living a reactive life. That every point in time, you're reacting to a thought, to an experience, to something or the other. And you're never true to your core, right? And that went on for almost 2 years, I did that. And for 2 years, it reached a point, okay, today I'm not going to talk. Or today I will not take any phone calls. So it wasn't just not talking and maintaining silence, it was also resisting urges. And that had a powerful impact on me. It just cleared, and I was journaling whatever I was thinking and feeling at that point in time. I remember writing and crying because a small thing, and I'm like, okay, I'm feeling kind of lost right now, and just writing, which is a lot of psychologists encourage journaling. And the thoughts would go from one place to another, to what you're feeling, what someone said, what happened, to something else, something deeper and deeper and deeper. And then you'd say, oh my God, and somehow it would reach to your childhood. And you say, I didn't even think of that. So it was a fantastic exercise also for me to come to terms with who I am, what I am, why am I the way I am, and is it okay? And I think by the end of the book, I said, there is nothing more profound than knowing who you are. So, I mean, I think Albert Einstein said that we suffer from the problem of spending 98% of our life doing what we want and only 2% trying to figure out what you really want. So that was...
He was profound indeed. But I mean, we live in a very different world today, Sameer. So I'm a business editor, and I can... Oh, really? Okay, sure. Yeah, do point it out. Be happy to do that. So I'm a business editor, and most of the times I find, and I work a lot with young founders, young people starting their businesses. They're like overworked to the core. And, I remember about 6 years back, I was to interview Bhavish of Ola Electric. And he said, are you available at 3? And I said, yeah, 3 is doable. He says, no, I mean 3 a.m. If you can come over, we can have this interview because the day is really busy. And I said, no, 3 a.m. is not doable for sure. And then I remember demonetization happened. And I was to interview Vijay Shekhar Sharma, and it was just the night, and I called him, look, in this country, I think Paytm is the only thing that can save us for the next few days. So are you free for an interview? He says, look, I have to be in Mumbai by 7. I'm taking a flight at 5. You want to drive with me to the airport? So I said, okay, we'll do it. But the point is, look at these industries. I mean, I work odd hours with people all the time. I mean, your industry, Bollywood, practically I start receiving calls only at about 11:30 p.m. sometimes, because the industry is now in fully active mode. Now, when you're living in a world like this, how do we sort of find the silence? I mean, the whole pride that everybody is taking today is that they're actually being able to manage their life and day with number of sleeping hours becoming lesser and lesser, because that's probably the only time we sort of know how to remain silent. The rest has to be practiced. So, when we're living in this kind of an exhibitionist world and it goes on beyond the confines of the day to the night, middle of the night, how do you find that silence?
Okay, is that good? Closer now? Thanks. Look, you can do whatever you want. You can pretty much get whatever you want, but there is a price to be paid. There is a price, all right? So you better be sure that what you want is really what you want. These people you're just referring to, if they're working 18 hours a day, I hope they're working towards something that means something to them. My big thing in this book is that is for everyone to question that, is your dream truly your dream, or is that a dream you were sold when you were a child? We are on this loop. We were raised in a culture where come first, be the best, go to the best college, have a good business or a good corporate job, nice house, this, that. And we know for a fact that we have enough information about people who, quote unquote, was successful like that, who made it really to the top, but still were miserable. So we know just having enough money is not going to make you happy. It might make some people happy. I will not generalize that much. But that is not definitely, there's no confirmation. Yet we do it. Fame. You have enough stories of people being very rich and famous who are actually reach 50s and 60s, says, what is my life all about, man? What am I doing? Right? So clearly, money, fame, is not a sure short answer to happiness. Right?
Do you equate silence to happiness?
No, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to the importance of that. And this is, again, my experience. I'm here just to share my experience. For those who, if silence they don't need, I envy you and God bless you. I'm great. I mean, I don't believe in one thing, fits all. I'm here just to share because that's why the book says it's my experiments and it's my diary. Right? Now, to me, it is what happens is that from the very childhood, we're conditioned to be successful. There's a leap of faith, right? Because like we were discussing, that our earlier generation were trying to make ends meet, more or less. So they taught their children, come first, come do that, get a good job, and they assumed that that would make them happy. That was an assumption because that is what they didn't have. That was a template for them. And they imparted their template to us. So without thinking, although there is, if you really analyze it, there is not much of how is coming fifth or seventh that much different from coming first in the long run of your life? How many of us in 10th grade, 12th grade had 50% or 80% and 90%? Does it really matter right now? No, it doesn't. But we've been trained to be successful. And we believe that if we do these things, we will be happy. We are raising children who are learning to be best at what they do and excel, which is meaningless if you're not happy. So how do you know what makes you happy? How do you know where your conditioning ends? How do you know your dream to be the best corporate or best this is something what you really want? Or is it just validation? Is it from childhood? If you come first in the class and your dad will say, good. You say, hey man, that feels good. So you want to do that more. But that's not really what you're looking for. What you're really looking for, some validation. So you feel good about yourself. So that, to me, is the important thing to discover. Whatever you are doing, you're doing it for the right reason. And how do you do that? I did that by being by myself and cutting the stimulus away from me for some time and questioning my motivations. Because it's an assumption made. It's a simple question. It's like, I love asking this question. When we talk about successful people, since I'm from the entertainment business, we can clearly agree on one of the biggest, greatest success stories would be the pop star Michael Jackson, right? Everybody more or less agrees. Maybe some people will go to Elvis, I don't know. No haters on Elvis. We agree? A yes would be nice. Wow, thank you. You guys are not sleeping. So we would say Michael Jackson is one of the classic cases of success, legend. But my question to you is, would any one of you would like to trade places with him? What are we talking about? Why are we selling this dream? When none of us would like to be in this place, is that really worth it? So all these people you're talking about, another example is a person said that by 40 years old, I'm going to be a billionaire. And he's 40 and he's a billionaire. Is he successful? Probably most say, he said that he would. And if I tell you and give you added information, in the process, he had 2 broken marriages, has heart condition, has stress this, Now, would you call him successful? You'll be like, I don't know. So you don't have to climb the Mount Everest to say that, this is a good view. Just because you've been told so. I don't know if I'm answering a question before it sounds like a Sadhguru. So yeah, that's...
But I think we've also been conditioned to think that you win some, you lose some, right? So my point is, how much is it okay to lose to win that?
I'm totally against that. There is no winning and losing. You're either happy or you're not. It's as simple as that. You've been given X amount of time to spend on this planet. You've been given certain resources, for whatever reason, maybe your past karma, if you believe in it. You've been planted in a certain family with whatever. You have so much time. How you spend that time is up to you. You want to make it into a game of winning and losing, okay, that's what you do. But to me, it's not about winning or losing. The question is, am I happy? If I'm happy losing, hey, then I don't want to win. That's the problem. Because if Michael Jackson is a winner and we don't want to be Michael Jackson, is that really worth anything? If I'm happy at night when I sleep with myself or spend time on my own and nobody knows me, I'm happy. It's good. If I'm miserable and I'm miserable and popping pills to go to sleep and billions of people know me, does that do me any good? No. So I think this whole concept of winner, loser, the first and the second is just done from a template from the earlier generations in which they're trying to make sense of organizing society in a particular manner. And saying, oh, okay, now we have to, put them through the system and let's form a system. And in a system, someone has to be first, second, blah, blah, blah. But I don't buy into it. At least, from my experience, I've worked on the Wall Street and that didn't do much for me. And been acting for 25 years and I'm like, yeah, really. Sorry, go on.
So, today when we've always, humans, we're social, right? We're social beings. So even when there was no social media, we used to love to party, we used to go out, hang with friends. We do that much lesser now, actually. That's what statistics say, that we've actually become more isolated. And the Gen Z that is coming further, they're going to be they in fact love to just sort of have their own wine at home and just probably be doing some social stuff with their friend or whatever. And so, do you think social has brought us closer? Social media, that is. So social media, has it brought us closer or has it actually put us all apart?
Firstly, in this whole concept of we are social animals in this thing, I have nothing against that. It's okay to be social. And, maybe like you defined that we are humans and humans are like this. That's fine. But if you let the society run your life, we have a problem. Being a social animal means that you need to interact with each other to exist, to survive. Okay?
But still in that lifetime, we could, where there was no social media, we could still decide, I want to hang out with friends today. I don't want to hang with friends tonight. So it's okay. But today when we're actually, it's part of this gadget which we carry around all the time. How do you sort of get rid of it? It's honestly, even for me, somebody who's a writer, who loves to write, it's my job. It's exhausting at times just to look through social media and figure out, what is. And I go out to people and say, you wanna, this is happening right now. You wanna talk about it? And they say, no, I've written it on my social media. God, you can talk about it. So, when we're living in a world like that, honestly, since Twitter came in, and I feel people are more isolated. They don't want to talk about things that used to matter.
Well, look, isolation.
There's enough silence out there.
No. Honestly, when there was COVID, I was quite at peace, actually. So I didn't need to go to parties and stuff. I'm like, hey, man, I'm okay with that. But social media and isolation, that has two different challenges. I think the biggest threat that's coming from social media is not the isolation, but the pressure. The opportunity cost of every minute.
Correct.
Okay? If earlier, when there was no social media, if your flight was 1 hour late, you're like, theek hai. Now what? If you're waiting for your friend and he's 5 minutes late, where are you? Why aren't you here now? There's this pressure constant that the social media or the society is building upon us, and especially the youth. You got to look certain way. You got to behave certain way. And if you're going to go to Paris, you'd rather be instead of enjoying it, you want to take pictures and selfies in front of a place. And that's the way to be. That's what the social media is telling you right now. Yeah. And it is difficult because it's highly addictive. It's telling you what the idea of this is desirable. Oh, you get that Rolls Royce and you have that. That's happiness. Chances are you will be there, you'll be there, and suddenly like, oh, okay, after we've taken the picture, now what? So it's more about the pressure, not really about isolation. Yes, isolation is largely because of convenience, right? I want to do what I want to do when I want to do. Right? I'm on my own schedule. But a bigger problem that I feel that social media is doing is projecting images at people and youngsters that how you should be and what is okay, who has how many followers.
Yeah.
That is a bigger issue because they are projecting, which brings me back really to a very, very serious point, is in terms of when I talk about success and happiness. And I thought a lot about this, and what is happiness? It's such an abstract thing. So someone came up with a definition, and I was like, yeah, that sounds pretty good. It's the difference between what you expect from life and what life gives you. If you expect A or 10 and life gives you 11, you're happy. If you're expecting 100, you get 70, You're unhappy even though the guy who got 11 is happy. So it's got a lot to do what you expect from life, what you expect to feel, right? This expectation thing has been, for example, through social media, has been raised so exponentially that you feel like I'm the only miserable man in this world. Everybody's happy, right? I'm like, yeah. And that's scary because if you don't feel that, then you feel something is wrong. I mean, there's a classic story. There's one guy, it's an anecdote. It's a guy who went to his friend's house for dinner. And he was really sad and stuff. And his friend said, dude, what happened? He said, yeah, look, I lost 1 crore or something, I made losses. He said, oh, shoot, sorry, man. Take care, all the best. And then, he was talking to his wife. He says, your husband's kind of seeming low. He says, yeah, I don't know. I mean, he just made about 50 lakhs he made. I don't know what he's complaining about. So the fact was, he was expecting to make 1 crore and 50, but he only made 1 crore. He's unhappy. So it's what you expect. If you're expecting there's going to be, rainbows and blossoms and everything nice and fancy, which is what every social media throws at you, then you've got to be ready for a really miserable life because that doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. And it's, on top of it, it's honestly really keeping up that facade is very exhausting.
It is. That's why I'm saying that everything comes with a price. Give 24 hours. I don't care. But at least do it for your dream. Do it for what you really believe in. Not what you've been brainwashed to believe in. Because your personality is pretty much formed by, if you're a psychologist, by the time you're 7 or 8 or 9. How you perceive the world, what's desirable, what's not desirable is decided. That template is set. And you're just living that out until that template is shaken up and you're saying, oh, wait a minute, there's more to life. Suddenly they all become philanthropists and say, no, I want to help people, I want to serve people. So must we work hard for 50 years and then realize that's not where it's at? So, yeah.
So, and as we're talking about social media and sort of the demands it puts on you as a person, I mean, because even after, earlier you used to work, you used to come home, spend time with kids, just have fun, watch TV, if nothing else. So, there was a certain pattern to life and, you could sort of tell what you wanted and what you were going to do in the evening or in the morning. Today, those patterns have sort of become very unexpected. As I said, I don't expect anybody to say that, come and interview me at 3. It takes me off my sleep. Or to come at 5 and, let's drive down to the airport. I mean, no, it's not fun at all, but, you have to do it with the demands of the work. But having said that, how do you think mental health is going to be impacted because of all this around us? I mean, it's a real thing in workplaces today. Nobody wants to work after a certain number of hours, and I mean, Gurgaon is probably the hub of it, where people are known to work for all kind of crazy hours. So, what does it do to our mental health, and therefore why silence is more important for people to, and more than us, I think it's about these youngsters out there who really need to sort of start visualizing that future today, because you don't want to go wrong. You don't want to go psychic by the time you turn 25, right?
Yeah, look, mental health. That's definitely an issue of big concern. And that is a byproduct of the lifestyle we lead. Like I said, there is a price you pay, whether you like it or not. You work for 24 hours, fine, you will get something. But they say when God gives you something, he extracts a pound of flesh from you. So you will pay a price. Mental health is that. Lack of peace of mind is that. Why do you think there's so many spiritual leaders and stuff coming out? Because there is a need for that. Because we've gone so extreme. The fact is that technology is advancing at an exponential rate, and our mind is not able to keep up with it. Some can, but they're keeping up with it at a price, which they might realize 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We know the addiction of mobile phones and everything. Okay? So yes, that the rise in mental health issues, even though you might not know you're dealing with it. I mean, might not know you're dealing with depression, right? Because whatever, right? Because we come from a very unusual society, which I think is understandable because I think mental health issues is essentially weren't a third world country issues. We were trying to make ends meet. If a rickshaw wala's son says, Dad, I'm feeling depressed, he's going to slap him, say, get back to work. Or Dad, I feel anxious, aaj dukaan nahi kholni hai. Shut up and go. Right? So we live in a society which just blows my mind. It's okay. Every day you work, have long hours, and you work hard and come home and make yourself 2 drinks and go to sleep. Or on a weekend, finish a bottle or drink, and that's okay. That's socializing. That's normal. God forbid, if you were to take an appointment with a psychologist, is something wrong with you? Really? I mean, I've been to psychologists, psychiatrists. Whenever I feel I need help, I need to talk to someone, fine. But it's still a taboo because it's not a third world problem. It is becoming one now, though, with the rise of suicide cases and stuff like that. It's like going to a psychologist or seeking help is, oh, pagal hai. Okay, let's calm down. Fact of the matter is, everyone, apart from few who have a genetic disorder, all of us at some point in time will go through some level of depression, some level of anxiety, depending on the situation you're in. And believe me, alcohol is not the answer. Right? So yeah, mental health to me, I mean, I'm extremely vocal about that. And, I openly say, yeah, I see counselors, psychologists from time to time, every time I think something is bothering me. Because you might be in a situation that your parents or your family or your friends just are not well equipped to help you. A typical thing is you're bothering with something and something is bothering you and a friend says, Arey, you're thinking too much, snap out of it, let's get a drink. As if once you had a drink and you come back, the problem's going to go away. Your family members cannot be objective. Right? So this whole thing of you're thinking too much, this thing, and the fact is they're saying, I don't want to deal with your problem. Or I can't. Just be okay. I want you to be okay and have fun with me. And that's why there's so many life coaches. This is a new trend we have now. Life coaches that are coming up who are not really psychologists.
They just talk to you, actually.
Yeah, I met a few of them and I'm like, I'm a life coach. I'm like, so what are you coaching? Life. I'm like, oh, okay. I've heard of psychologists now. But the fact is that they exist because there is a need.
In Japan, you can buy a friend's time just because if you're lonely. Most of it is actually coming out of loneliness. And so you can just buy time to talk to someone or just hug someone because you feel,
And loneliness is not just about having people around. Loneliness is not being able to express yourself, not having a safe environment in which you can express yourself. You can have hundreds of people around you, you can have family members up and down, and you can feel awfully lonely.
Yeah, and Americans in their typical way have given us a tech answer with Alexa and Google. And you can go and talk to them. But, I think it's a great alternative approach that you've shared today, Sameer. And I think for some of us, I don't know how much we can practice this in our lives on day-to-day or hour-to-hour basis, but probably in some conditions. I work from Monday to Saturday. And on a Sunday evening, I usually feel a vacuum about what am I doing today? Just because, we're so conditioned to live our life daily on like Mondays like this, Tuesdays like this, Wednesdays like this. So, that by the time the Sunday evening, because morning you'll still have some work to do, you have some shopping to do or something else to be done. But by the time Sunday evening hits, you realize that, I have nothing to do because you're so busy practically the whole week, you don't know what else to do. When you have some time.
I think we're living in a very reactive autopilot life. It's yesterday determines today determines tomorrow, and so on and so forth. And we caught in this loop, and you can't break out of it, even if you want to. You don't know how, and it's definitely not easy.
Totally. Happy to hear some of our folks out here.
Sure.
If you have a view on this, or you want to ask him a question, that would be really nice.
When I talk about silence, it's being alone with your own thoughts. observing your thoughts. Just being, of course. Because, I mean, you can listen to others. I mean, I think there is a teacher everywhere. I mean, you can learn about life by observing, but if you want to learn about yourself, that's going to come from within. It can't come from anyone else. Because unless you peel the layers and are honest enough to kind of go to the basics of it and saying why and why and why and why, others' experience will not let you know what works for you and who you are. I wish that was the case. I observe people a lot of time, then I have to say, look, I'm not going to make that mistake. But that doesn't help me to know what is it that makes me me. And to me, again, the big catch is without knowing that, you're going down a rabbit hole without knowing that this is what you really want. I mean, work 24 hours a day, fine, but at least work for something that you really want. But if you don't know what you really want, we don't have a class in school which says, discover yourself. Right? So, yeah, and I'm not saying that everyone should practice silence. Please, I mean, let me make a very strong disclaimer. I'm sharing my experience. That's it. I'm not recommending that you should do it. If you feel like doing it, do it. This is what worked for me in a way. And it raised a lot of questions. More than giving answers, it made me look at life in a different perspective. Why am I doing what am I doing? Am I doing this for validation? Or am I doing this because I really want to do it? Because if you're doing it for validation, you can spend all your life, you will never get it. So I hope that answers.
Hi, I'm Sushma Rao here. The title of your book really attracted me to come to this event. Now, looking at all the things that we spoke, my sister and myself is glad to announce that we have started a wellness app and it's been recognized by Yorkshire, UK, which reduces stress through music. Through music, and it's artificially intelligence driven. So if anybody is interested, can take it.
Yeah, I personally feel music is the food for the soul.
Yes, yes.
So I believe that. So that's one of my stress busters.
Yeah, so that's the main reason I came actually for.
Thank you for coming.
What prompted you to write a book?
Like I said, I had been fond of writing, and this was a process for me to figure what do I want, what is it, and because I like to be honest to myself, because my life journey has been such that I came from a typical middle class Punjabi family, where come first in class, that's important, and I found myself suddenly in New York, working on the Wall Street, and I had an apartment in Battery Park City, and that's probably the highest job you could get out of college, and I was miserable. So I said, look, if this is making me miserable, this is not the right path to be. I gave that up, and I said, then I came to the question that, it's a long-winded answer to your question, but I'll come to it. So then I decided to pursue acting, which was my true passion, and I gave it up and came here. And then after a while, I realized that, okay, I enjoy acting, but then you see the ups and downs. And then you figure out, why are you acting? Is it because you want people to like you, validate you? Or is it because you really enjoy the process? So these are the questions I was asking myself. And like I said, I was writing about it and thinking about it. And then I was approached during COVID to write a book of memoirs. And a publishing house asked me, Om, and Preeti, who's here, approached me. And I said, I don't want to write memoirs. There are enough actors doing that. But there is a collection of prose and poetry that I've written over the years. And after COVID especially, it becomes very relevant and important because a lot of people are put in extremely uncomfortable situations. I lost a dear friend during COVID. And I just showed them what I had. They loved the idea. And I was more than happy to kind of get it out because also this speaks a lot about introversion and extroversion and stuff like that because I think it's the loud people who get heard, but it's the soft, shy ones who kind of get lost because we're made to believe, if you're not out there, there's something wrong with you. So, for example, me, instead of watching an IPL match, in the stadium. I'd rather watch it on TV and see the replay and stuff in my AC. So it's different. But now somehow we kind of assuming to be that is something not okay. You're lacking something, and therefore there's pressure to socialize more than you really want to. So that I thought, and that's why I very strongly believe in my book. And I think it's extremely, extremely important. I'm not saying it because I've written it. I don't even have my face on it. So, so yeah, I think it's important, especially nowadays with the kind of social pressures we have. Yeah.
Myself is Dr. Nisha Khanna. I am a senior consultant counseling psychologist from last 22 years. You numerous times during your conversation talked about psychologist and life coach. So I would say for the audience, it would be good you tell the difference as you experience both. What is the difference between a life coach and a psychologist?
Okay, I've never approached a life coach, so I don't know. I've been to psychologists and I've been to psychiatrists. Psychiatrists obviously have a degree in medicine. They can prescribe medication to you in case you are dealing with some issues and the environment is such that it helps you cope up with that circumstances at that point in time. Clearly, a psychologist can't prescribe medication for you, but can give you a holding hand and say, hey, how about this? It's like a big brother or a big sister just guiding you through, who's extremely objective, who will not feel one way or the other about what you say, and it's a safe place. So a life coach, you'll have to talk to I haven't taken to that seriously as yet.
Okay.
Sometimes when we're not able to find answers on our own, I feel that is when we go to a life coach, you know. It could be
Then we'll go to anywhere.
It could be to do with your health or
We'll go to Vaishno Devi if you want. We'll go here. Help me, get me out of this mess.
Trending word these days, that's why I'm saying you.
Yeah, no, but
It is-
you know, it's essentially what I told you about Japan. It's sometimes you need somebody to talk to, and you probably your own sort of close family is just not giving you the answers that you're looking at.
Most of the general public says psychologist's job is just to listen. I was thinking, why have you studied so many years and I'm still studying and putting up for like 5 research papers? As if it is just listening job.
No, I mean, I would like to give psychologists more credit in that. They're not just listening. I mean, they know when to interject. But life coaches is tricky because someone is putting their faith into your hands, opening up to you, and you might not be equipped to guide them or help them. It can awfully go wrong. So I'm little right now, as of now, you know, because they don't really have a degree in psychology. They have, you know, done various courses which says, oh, you're qualified for this. So it's a tricky one. I wouldn't want to be a life coach. I mean, I can barely handle my life. I don't want to handle your life. Or convince you, sir, give me this much money and I will guide your life. No, I can't do that.
Hi, Sameer. This is Smita here. Hi. Very interesting topics that you covered today. One thing which kind of struck apart from many other things like mental wellness and, you know, silence, I'm assuming you're talking about Vipassana or something on those lines to connect to yourself. One thing which resonated very interestingly with me was around, you know, the role models and the goals that you talked about, right? And how we are creating the stress in our whole environment with our children, you know, in our society, as to who do you look up to? Now, you come from an industry which is interestingly so full of many role models, and it's so camouflaged with you know, different elements on how the marketing branding company or the PR companies want to position. But probably my question is going to be slightly different, not from your industry. If you have to suggest a role model between Ratan Tata and Elon Musk, who would you recommend that?
Look, I don't know either one of them personally. I don't know how happy or miserable they are being who they are. I wish for both of them to be really happy. And this is a thing that brings me to a very interesting point that you're talking about. There is no one thing that fixes all. There is no one solution. You know, a couple of stories I will share with you. It's like, you've heard the story about, you know, 6, 7 blind men trying to figure out an elephant,
Yeah.
right? One is holding onto the tail and says, oh, this is how you do it. The elephant is a rope or a snake, or someone holds his trunks and says this, or someone gets that. And we say they all are wrong, right? But I believe they all are right, because they're seeing life from their perspective, right? If you got the tail of the elephant and you want to climb up, you will develop your own skills to climb the tail. Now, if I got the trunk and you're trying to guide me, he's going to say, what are you doing? Just hold it and go up. But that's your life. That's your struggles. That's not my struggle. So your formula cannot work for me. It has to be individual. Because no one can say what's it like to be you in your shoes, what you experience, what you've taught, and for me to say, forget this, just do that. That does not work, number one. And number two, we are all born with our genetics in which we have our core strengths and weaknesses. Everybody's heard about, this, people say slow and steady wins the race, right? More or less we agree? A nod would be nice. More or less, yeah? Now, let's think about this. Slow and steady wins the race. If you asked a rabbit to be slow and steady, do you think the rabbit will survive a single day in the jungle? God gave him speed. And that was to make sure he survives, right? So we have our own individual qualities that we are equipped with to deal with what unique problems life gives at us. And we work accordingly. Right? So there's no one thing that fits all. That's why it's all the more important to know, what is my strength? How can I tackle this? I can't be looking at another guy who's got a different strength. You can't generalize, to be this is the formula. That works for one person. And we are like billion people, unique in every way. So and that's the reason I'm sharing my experience, that some might be able to relate to this. Or if not relate to this, at least be curious about your own journey and saying, hey, what about, this is my core strength. This is who I am and this is what I need to do. Role models, otherwise, you can learn from everyone, really. I mean, I admire anyone and everyone who's had a dream and worked towards it and achieved it. I admire them for their, persistence, the passion, and the hard work. And that's commendable. So, I don't think as Mr. Musk and Mr. Tata is concerned, I don't know what medicine they're having, so.
But on a lighter note, I can say that, one never needed a woman and one needs so many of them.
I have a question, and I have a question for Ritu. There was a point in time we're talking about social media and the pressure that it creates, and we're talking about Bollywood, because that's an industry everybody loves to bash. So, So, at one point in time, there was anyway enough pressure in society that you used to voyeuristically look up to Bollywood artists and be like, oh my god, they have such glamorous and fancy lives. And then come outfits like Entrepreneur India and Shark Tank, right, who created this additional layer of pressure by projecting entrepreneurs as the new poster boys. So now you are like, where do we go? At least you had average corporate jobs, but you were happy. You were like, I'm not part of that league, I can never be. I'm not an artist, I'm not that good looking. No, actually,
what we project as a media, and Entrepreneur is a global media, was never about entrepreneurs as superstars. We are a 50-year-old organization. Globally, America, it's been running there. In India, it's been running for 10 years now. It was never our thought to present them as superstars. That's what all of you made them. We were just trying to say that they've been able to become successful by following these principles.
So blame the media for this, right?
No.
Blame the messenger.
No, you can't. But what we want, because when somebody at 23 is looking to be an entrepreneur, he has no roadmap to go to. No school is going to teach him how to be an entrepreneur. So where entrepreneur started was that, if you're looking, or for that matter at 53 also, even if you want to be an entrepreneur at that age, you cannot find answers anywhere. So the idea was to find answers amongst ourselves. So if, for example, Elon Musk, if he has answers, but somehow, I don't know at what juncture, Elon Musk started getting equated with a Hollywood celebrity. He was never that. He's a physics guy out and out.
That's actually a statement on our society. I mean, I keep saying, if you were to go back 50 years or 60 years and look up the headlines and the articles, you would very rarely find articles, the top 10 richest men, the top 10 billionaires, the billionaire story, how to become a billionaire or millionaire. There weren't that many that 10, 15, 20, or even more back. I mean, the role models are, Mahatma Gandhi and Mother Teresa, that was the classic answer. Now, all we talk about is who is the richest man, who's the second richest man. I'm not saying that's wrong. Don't get me wrong. If that's what floats your boat, go for it. But, if unintentional, if that works for you, do it. But to generalize for other people who say, if I'm not that, I'm nothing. But that's the way society goes. We live in a consumer-determined society. What sells is gonna work. Really, if something sells, a notorious person doing something and that's gonna get more eyeballs, they'll make more stories about him. You had your hand up, sorry.
Hi, I actually wanted to talk about silence.
Sure.
Whenever I feel in a low phase, I actually don't focus on silence because that is very scary.
Because?
That's very scary because you have to have a very honest conversation with yourself. And when you're low, you don't know how low that will take you further to go into that space. And also, I feel when I write about it, I sort of am reliving it. So how did you, about your conversation, silence, you've been writing about it, so how did you approach it?
Firstly, I wasn't reliving it because this was written when I was actually going through it. If I was in that mood, I would write it. So that's what also makes the book unique. It's actually a diary if you were to go through it. It's. Huh?
Do you want to read a few lines?
I will. I think close to her because this is like pretty much in a diary form. It has dates and stuff, so you can randomly pick up any page and know what I was thinking and the actual stuff. And what will resonate with you is the honesty. And as far as being scared, that's not a good enough reason not to do it. You have to face your fears, right? If you really want the life that you really want, you can't run away. Interestingly enough, because you mentioned this, I had titled this book, I'll have to look for the page. I don't know if it's here or not. Yes, it is. I had titled this book, Walk the Mist. Okay? If you don't mind, I'll just recite a little few words from there. This is the epilogue, and this kind of answers your question about, fear. I said, walk the mist, searching for answers everywhere except where lie the solutions. The key lies on the other side of the mist, through the unknown, the unsafe. On the other side lies paradise, clarity of purpose, potential of true self, and true happiness. In between lie your worst fears. The fear of loneliness, the fear of being alone, no one to love or be loved by, the fear of simply withering away, unmatched, unnoticed, or mourned for. Not belonging to anyone, no one belonging to you, no one in front, no one behind or besides, only you and the rest of the world. Walking through this mist tears every pretense of yourself until you are left alone, unsheltered, unclothed, just the weak, timid, incomplete you. Yes, the mist is dark and dense. It is easier to run back to the security of the illusion. But beyond the mist is the paradise of your true self. Have to have courage, have to walk the mist.
You're a life coach yourself, Samir, I must say. You're a life coach yourself.
This is a disclaimer. You do something wrong after this, I'm not responsible for it.
They might just do something right.
Oh, I couldn't be happier than happier, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Go on.
Hi, Samir. Hi, Ritu. And my question is, Samir, when do you think is a good time to journal? Because journaling helps you connect with your inner self. It helps you gather your thoughts. It helps you plan in advance on what you want to really allocate your time on. And then do you think morning is a good time to journal? Or do you think at night, when you can plan for the next day? I'm sure and there's no one size that fits all. But generally, what are your thoughts on that?
Have you heard of a film called Enter the Dragon?
No.
No, you haven't heard of it. Oh my, what generation are we speaking to? What generation?
A generation
You haven't
ahead
heard
of
of
you.
Enter the Dragon. Next you'll say you haven't heard of Sholay. Anyway, this was an epic film by a great martial artist called Bruce Lee. And my brother's here. I saw it with him. And we saw it back to back. There's a beautiful dialogue in that film in which Bruce Lee is teaching a young boy how to do martial arts. And he's trying to do what he's being taught, but he's not really getting it. And he said, it's like a finger pointing towards the heavenly glory. Don't concentrate too much on the finger or you'll miss the heavenly glory. So what time you journal, when you journal, all up to you. The idea is that you should feel what you need to feel. If you don't even need to journal, some people might not. It's not that I'm saying you should do this and you should do that. No, do what works for you. But at least it should work for you. My problem is that we are doing things which don't work for you, but you're just doing it. Some people believe in what is that called when you can, I'm forgetting the phrase, when you write good, happy thoughts and stuff. Huh? Yeah, affirmations. I'm happy, I'm millionaire, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be there. And you put the pen down, shit, that's not true. But if it works for you, do it. Do what works for you. Don't want a journal? Fine. This is my journey. This is what worked for me. Doesn't have to work for you. If going out at a party and coming back really rejuvenated, talking to people excites you, gets the best out of you, fantastic, do it. But do it because you want to do it, not because you've been told that you should do it. That's the difference. So journal, middle of the night.
You know, once I got a very good answer from someone, and it's actually pretty much on the lines of what you said. And, you know, so that's an entrepreneur, and he said that I write my journal at night. And I said, why do you write it? You know, you're doing well. He says, sometimes I need my own affirmation to see that how am I progressing it. If, you know, when I go back and read what I had written 2 years back, I'm much wiser, I'm much smarter than what I was 2 years ago. So I think that's probably one of the biggest advantages you'll have if you want to keep a journal at all. You know, it will help you to see and that might just give you happiness. You know, maybe 2 years back I was not, and today I'm at a much better place in some ways because I'm learning, I'm wiser, whatever. I mean, you know, so do it. It's a good thing to do.
Anything that makes your life or your stay on this planet happy, joyful, do it. Okay? And that's it. There's nothing more. There is no magical thing, you know. So, yeah. Journal.
One last question.
Sure.
Hi,
Please.
Sameer. My name is Varun. First of all, it's very heartening to hear someone from the glamour industry with such evolved thoughts. I have, quite a few.
You're kind of insulting my entire industry, but okay.
No, like you have been transparent. I have few close friends in the industry, but believe me, the thoughts I'm hearing, it's very heartening. It's very, I would say direct dil se, because it's too artificial to everyone is looking for validation, but it feels so good that someone carries such grounded thoughts. You know, you pay the price, you look for validation, but my question has two parts. First, do you feel sad, like if people don't recognize you because you are from glamour industry, does it gives you a pushback? Because this is something to do with silence, a lot of reflection and introspection which you have done. Second, I think the biggest problem our generation is facing, which I think I could make out, is we all are looking for validation, and that really takes us to depression and everything, because number of likes means happiness, but that's not the reality.
Oh, I'm sorry, last statement was number of
likes on Instagram, or number of, putting 10 different filters and putting our picture out there so that...
That is happiness.
That's happiness, according to the
you're being sarcastic.
present generation, yeah. So, have you evolved? Do you feel that, does it excite you? Which stage are you at?
When I joined the industry, fortunately, I wasn't from the industry. Fortunately, I was in the corporate world. I worked with normal people, who just went to job, did our job, went back home, got a salary. So yeah, I grew up like that. And this was one thing I was wary about, because I had seen a lot of that. I remember when I was a kid, I used to read about Rajesh Khanna.
There was a Star and Style and Stardust in those magazines. The articles used to come, how at one point in time he was the greatest in ever. Within 3 years, he became an alcoholic. So I was always, I shouldn't say scared, wary of that. So like, watch out for this. This does happen. So I've always made a very clear demarcation that what I do and who I am. Okay? It's not easy. All right? And you have to work on it. Because it's only natural that if you go somewhere and everybody recognizes you, and one day they don't. It's only natural to say, whoa, what happened? All right? So it's not like I'm walking with a halo around my head and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. But the thing is, you're aware of it, that it will happen. Right? I mean, it happens all the time. Sometimes people mistake you for somebody else. Sometimes you're here and somebody's 5 feet away from you and staring at you and saying, hey, wohi wala hai yaar? Haan, wohi hai na? Nahi, wo nahi hai, dusra wala hai. It happens. That's part of life. That's part of my profession. That is the occupational hazard. Does it affect me? Sure, it does sometimes. But that's where, sense of maturity comes in, that, they don't mean you harm. And so I have a saying to myself, if you accept the bouquets, you will accept the brickbats. You don't determine my worth, as far as I'm concerned. This is over a period of 20 years, so don't think that I was like this. But it takes, experience and practice and, being honest to yourself and saying, okay, look, man, this is a slippery slope you're walking on. If you buy into this, like when people say, oh, you're so good, and you're like, yeah, tomorrow you'll say I suck. So, you're going to have a level head if you want to survive in this life, I think. So, and I try that. I think that's the only reason why I've survived so long. So, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Absolutely. I think one thing which really stands out is that you're really being honest. I think that is something which...
I'll tell you what, I'm a sneaky guy. Very sneaky. And I'm super intelligent. I know being fake doesn't work. Because people are smart. And I'm a lazy bum. So I rather just be me and be accepted for this than put on a persona and say, hope that you like that. Right? So if you're consistent, people will gravitate towards that. Either they like you or dislike you, but they'll be consistent. So yeah, I'm a lazy guy. It's just too much of effort to, keep a track of what lie you gave or what lie about this or damn, I told him this, I told him that. Oh, shut up, this is me. So, yeah.
Yeah, and if followers make you happy, buy them. Don't get depressed because of that. It's easy to buy it and be happy.
I was just telling, I don't know if I was sharing this with you. This is my first experience with Instagram. I have to tell you this. Because this is so beautiful, So I wasn't on any social media until about 4 years back when I directed a film and my PR team told me I should go be on Instagram because that was the popular thing. So I said, okay, well, let's do it. So I started out and I had just a couple of thousand followers, whatever, I was just starting out. So I said, okay, what do you post here? So I looked at other Instagram accounts and all the actors were posting, while they're getting the makeup done and say, hey, I'm here shooting for this, da, 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 da. I said, ye to kar sakta hu yaar. That's not a big deal. Next time I was, getting ready. It's like, hey, I'm getting ready for this shot and this shot. Put some music in the back. So I had a couple of thousand followers and 20, 50, 100 might have liked it. Okay, that's fine. And I saw this hilarious post in which there were, and this is a true story, I'm not making this up. So this was this little short reel someone had posted, and there was this giant gorilla lying on a bench with his backside towards the camera. So the camera's there, a giant gorilla resting on a bench like this, okay, flat. And then he's there, and after a couple of seconds, his hand goes back, and he scratches his ass. And then it comes back. I'm like, that's hilarious, man. I mean, let's post this. Let's share with people. That ass-scratching gorilla got like thousands of likes. So that was a reality check. People rather watch a gorilla scratch your ass than listen to me talk. So I said, let's be real. Even if I do get 1 million followers, doesn't mean a damn thing.
Well, that brings us to the end of the session. And before you blame the media, she was the one who called you a life coach. And now somebody puts it out there.
Disclaimer.
But thank you so much for this talk, Sameer. It was really enlightening. And I think even if we're able to sort of just put a little bit of our daily practice into silence, I think we'll be much happier and much more contented with our own lives instead of really looking too much out for validation and living somebody else's life. So thank you for this great evening, and thank you for being a wonderful audience and engagement and participation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ritu, for being here. And I want to end with one of my favorite poems that's in the book. And this is sort of like kind of in the end. And it kind of encapsulates what I feel life seems to be or how we live it. It's called The Circle. So it goes something like this. Round and round and round I go through the same places I've been before. The same highs, the same lows, the same uncertainties, the same unsures. Will I, won't I, can I, can't I? How many times the same fears must face I? And will there be an end? Will I see some light? Will there be an end to this dreary dark night? In search of that pot of gold, at the end of the rainbow, round and round and round I go.
Wow.